All right, so we're back again. Holy crap, I trashed your table again. All right, so what we're gonna do today, we're gonna do two things. We're gonna do the Vanos line. There's the old one. We're gonna put the new Vanos line on. We gotta see if we got an O-ring. We got the whole box of O-rings right there. Well, this camera looks so dark. And once we do that, we're gonna install the hose. So we'll have to feed it down through here. Once the hose is installed, we're gonna lift the car up and we're going to reinstall the Vanos pump. Vanos pump is right here. And then we're going to try to get a decent valve lash reading on that. So we'll see, should be interesting. Okay, so let's start off with, first of all here, we're gonna get a rag. We're gonna wipe out that hole that this goes in. We don't want anything in there binding it up or causing any issue. We'll put a little bit of lube on here. Because if you don't, what'll happen when you push it in there, it'll bind up and it'll rip that ring. And take this off, or put that down in there. And now, I gotta sneeze. Good Lord, got the Rona. All right, so push that down in there like so. And we should just be able to push it down in there and kind of turn it as we go. There we go. Give her a little push in there. The only bad part about a new O-ring, usually pretty tight. Same way if you put a new Vanos solenoid or new cam sensor or any of that, it's all the way down to the O-ring. We'll just gotta push her down and make her click in. Problem is I can't get in there to get any leverage on it. Well, let me see what we got here in the toolbox of goodies. And try to get this power wire on it and just get it on it just so I could have a hand up here to tap down with. Something like that right there. Let me find a little something better to tap with in my hand. Sure we are. Now let's go in and look. Let me put all this stuff up appropriately. Take a little minute. Let's look around it and make sure it's all seated correctly. It's all seated all the way down evenly all the way around. I don't see nothing sticking out at all. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. So let's go ahead and lift it up while we're that far with it. Well, let's put the bolt in it, then we'll lift it up, and we're gonna put that Vanos pump back on, and we're gonna try to get the bottom of that. Okay, so let's take a look first at the actual pump itself. And we cannot forget to put that spring back in, that tensioner. So, the bearing feels good. If red, that's your adjustment right there to adjust how it meshes against the other gear. You see how nasty that freaking oil is that was in there. Holy crap. Somebody definitely did not change that correctly. And I'm wondering what that's off of, because I have not seen that. Is that off this pump? I don't think it is. That wasn't off of there. No, it was not. We'll have to look and make sure wherever that goes, that gets put back in there. Well, let's bolt it up, I guess, and see what's going in. It's just like barfing out nasty oil over me. Let's get her up in there. Let's see. Let's see if we can't get to the bottom of this damn thing. Gross. Okay, so it's the next day here. Got sidetracked last night working on this thing. Try to find some information on the Vanos pump not having any movement. Can't find anything on it at all. You know, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. I've even tried pushing up on the chain. I just can't get any play out of it. I mean, maybe there's worse things to happen, but I just can't get anything at all. And if you turn that on, we're defaulted at 0.08. We'll go rocking on that. I'm gonna make it go to 0.09 and that's it. Everybody else could get on there and go like that with theirs. I mean, I really don't know. There's no information on it. These cars, there's information on some things, but other things, there's nothing. Most things, there's no information on at all. Just a few basic deals here. So what we're gonna do, it was running fine the way it was, is we put it back on there. The set's on pegs, so you can't really move it. So we need to remove this. We need to reassemble the Vanos line bolt with new crush washers. We need to put the guide bolt back in, just kind of tidy all that up. Then at that point in time, we're gonna put all these lines back on. We should replace this O-ring here. I might have O-ring for that. We'll do some looking here real quick. I'm gonna try to get this prepped up in the next few minutes to get ready for the oil pan to go back on. And then once the oil pan's back on, it's not gonna take us very long to put the subframe back up. Now, we'll talk about that in just a second here. A lot of you saying I had to replace the subframe bolts. I see everybody doing this without doing that. So we'll have to look into that a little bit too. If they're available to get, and I get them easily, I'll do that. If not, we'll torque them accordingly and run without it. When we did the Blue E90, all the bolts, it's not in here, but all the bolts on it were torque to yield, they're all aluminum. Could you replace all the bolts? Well, hell no, I took out like 200 bolts taking that damn engine out. You're gonna replace all those like recommended? No, you're not. You're just not. I mean, stupid. And if we replace all the bolts in this, something's wrong, we gotta take it all back apart, we're gonna replace them all again. You gotta put the brakes on this operation somewhere. You just can't do that, right? Just not that kind of situation. So we're gonna have 10 grand just in buying bolts. Stupid. So we'll take BMW's recommendation within reason, but BMW gets out of reason so fast that you can't justify following their every little whim. And so we'll put the brakes on this at buying these subframe bolts. And then other than that, somebody said, oh, you replace the the oil pan bolts. No, this isn't a magnesium block. This isn't aluminum bolts. This isn't none of that stuff. They're just 10 mil regular bolts and all that business. So let's go and work on this thing, get this thing tidied up a little bit. All right, first things first. Take that off, turn that off. We'll just kind of toss that to the side for right now. It takes a little doing to put that back in the box, as we already found out once. The next thing up is the banjo bolt. Right, this is the right one for that. And you can tell the banjo bolts, like the ones that are on the inside, just by looking at the head, you can tell which one's been in oil, which one hasn't. So let me stop here. Let me go grab some new crush washers for this, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we got our whole little box of Harbor Freight crush washers right here, as you can see. Look in the camera. Whole bunch of them, right? Whole assorted sizes. So here we have the same ID hole, but look how small the factory ones are. So we got a little more sealing gasket material on the new ones. I'm gonna go ahead and drop those on real quick. We're gonna save the old ones, put them here in the corner of the other box, just in cases. And most of the time you clean these, you can reuse them without any freaking problem. But since this is internal on the engine, we'll go and put new ones on it. And then we're gonna have to try to get this bad boy started with the new hose. It's gonna be very difficult to do that. I got my glove in it. What I'm trying not to do is cross thread that. I don't know what size that even is, 18 or 17. It's a 17. Well, 17's not out here. This will work for the time being. We're gonna try to make sure we get this thing done straight. Started straight. Just like that. You seen what I did? I kind of pushed down on it a little bit. Since the new hose is hard to line it up. I make sure the inner crush washer is clear and everything, and it is. A lot of you guys are gonna ask, what's the torque on these little 10 mil bolts? And I don't remember exactly, I think they're around 9 foot-pounds, but I learned by a long time ago, don't use a torque wrench on those little tiny bolts, on oil pan bolts. Go by feel. If you don't have any feel for anything with a 1/4" drive ratchet, I don't know what to tell you at that point. There we go. Go tight enough on this where it crushes the washers, but not tight enough where you're stripping or breaking anything. Right there, it's really snug. Go just a little bit more and leave it. There's no reason to get radical on any of this stuff. And next up, we're gonna go ahead and put this guy back in there like so. It's a little bit slack on there. I mean, everything's correct. Right there. But there again, that's probably gonna change a lot as the engine's running. But the chain's not slack. I could physically push this up past where it should be. But you kind of gotta figure that's more than likely the way it should be. All right, so that goes there. That needs to go over there. Let's try to find a cleaner table up here. Now it's hard to find anything. It's the Torx. This is, This is a T30. stab this in there. All these guides look perfect, no problem at all. No cracks. They didn't seem brittle. Snug it up real good, and there we are. It's pretty much perfect. That's all fitted up. Let me see if I've got what I need for this. Ew. It's definitely some nasty ass oil. So that's a green O-ring. I can still feel it above that. I'm a little hesitant to change that because all I have is black O-rings and they're not going to last as long as that green one. Let's see if we even have anything anywhere even close. That'd be the one there, but that's so much thicker than the other one. I just think that'd be a mistake to do that. I really do. So let's go ahead and just leave that one on there. It's still sticking out above there, no problem. There should be zero problem. You know, we work on into stuff all the time. The O-ring, if it's not torn, as long as you lubricate it when you put it back in, there's just no merit in doing all that. Same with the crush washers. Would I have had to replace those on that Vanos line? No, I wouldn't have. BMW recommends that, yeah, but they also sell the parts. You know, it's just, you got to put the brakes on stuff. So let's do this. Let's grab the cleanest rag we got. Let's grab a little dot of this assembly lube. And a lot of guys are replacing the gears to the Vanos pump. They're replacing all this stuff. You can spend 10 grand on this job. Are you any better off when you started? Well, I mean, that's really debatable. If you're planning on driving this car for 100,000 more miles, yeah, I can see that. But I mean, realistically, this car has 102K on it. Is it ever going to be driven to 200K? Probably not, to be totally honest with you. It's not a daily driver. It's what I call in the videos a novelty car. Am I going to put that many miles on it? No. I mean, if I have it 2 or 3 years, it's got 102 on it. If I sell it after a few years, maybe I'll have 110 on it, like worst case. And that's what you got to look at. You know, what's your outlook on it? Is that oil ring going to be wore out for another 100,000 miles? No, it's not. It's a green oil ring. If it was some kind of shifty one and it looked all ratty, then hell, I wouldn't have ever put it back on there. I'd replace it. So let's go ahead and stick this back up in there. Let me spin you guys around here. And this thing I should be able to stick this up in that hole. Let me wipe that out too. And it should stay up in there long enough. For me to grab the bolts for this. Yeah, so there that is. I'll grab the bolts for that. We separated all the bolts over here. So there shouldn't be any problem on what's what. I'll show you. Got my hands off, get my camera all greasy. And here's all this assembled. Not too bad. So we got one T30 right there. This 10 mil just holds these two pieces together. I wouldn't have had to take that out. And then up here we have our two T30s that hold the pipe in the back of the oil pump, the engine oil pump, not the Vanos oil pump. So there's all that. That's all done. And then coming around the front, got our chain tensioner stuff in. That's gonna have to be reconnected, but after we let the car back down, all this stuff's all torqued down for the Vanos pump. And I'll probably just make 110% sure everything's done. We need to wipe the gasket mating surface off. I need to go look and see if they recommend any sealer, but I doubt they do. We have to dump all this crap out and function all that, get all that cleaned off. The front drain plug, a lot of people saying they recommend that I put the front drain plug in. I'm trying to see here. I mean, I don't know. There's a little bit in there. It's gonna be in this part right here. It's hard to judge. There's a little bit right there, but that don't go down very far. That's like a little crevice. Most of it's only, I don't know, less than 3/8 of an inch deep on there. And a lot of that's drained back in since I put the plug back in when it was on there before I took it off. I would say between a little over a quarter of a quart's gonna stay in there. Is it worth drilling a hole in that pan? Well, I really don't know. You can go drill in a cast aluminum and put a new drain plug in it. You better have your stuff right, because if you don't, you're gonna have a leak at that. So I don't have anything here to do that with. Usually it takes a special deal to do that. Might be available locally, I'm not really sure. We'll look into that just a little bit here. Okay, so just brought the oil pan back in here. And I'm just checking it for any kind of metal particles. I don't see anything at all in it. Is there any merit in cleaning every little bit? I dumped everything out of it. Is there any merit in cleaning everything out of it? No, not really, because the engine's still full of this oil, right? Like full of it. So you just kind of wiped everything off, wiped it off again with this clean rag. There's really nothing else you should do to it. There's nothing else. There's no gasket sealer used on it. We have a brand new OEM gasket. I have to bang my head on the damn car. Right here, and it has a very small ridge around it, so nobody's actually using any kind of sealer whatsoever on it. I don't know where the hell razor knife even got off to here. We'll just kind of slice and dice her open, and I'll show you guys. The whole gasket, and it's got a slight bend to it. Come around here, but you can see here the crushable ridge, and that's the only thing that seals that to the engine. So it's pretty tight tolerance operation here. There's nothing you could really do to make it any better. Kind of set her on just like that, and that is a factory L-ring gasket, like no BS, legit 100% factory. So that should seal up. So what we're gonna do is just put a couple bolts. We'll get a couple bolts in our hands here. We'll hold it up there, maybe just get the extension and hold it up there and just put a couple bolts in it. And before we tighten any of that down, we're just gonna go up, try to get as many bolts started in as we can, get a few turns on them. We'll go over there with, we're probably going with our little impact and just run them in, but not even make it click, just barely snug them. We'll go back with a 1/4" drive ratchet and we'll torque them all down. I think it was 7 or 9 foot-pounds, but we kind of know where to go by hand. It's gonna be kind of a pain in the ass to get in there because it's a bad spot. So let's go ahead and get her done. All right, we'll do her on camera here because why the hell not, right? And this is gonna be real interesting because I remember getting this thing out. It like barely came out of there. So let's go ahead and, first of all, let's put our extension up here on our rag so we don't have to hold that. And we got 2 bolts in our hand right here. And what we're gonna do is get this thing up in here to start with. Oh, and we're gonna have to pin that gasket with 2 bolts. Already knocked my extension off. Got it like that. Already knocking the gasket off. Got it like that. We're just trying to get the gasket up there, and then we're going to start a bolt in each side on the oil pan. If I let that touch my shirt, I'll have to throw my shirt away. So let's not do that. Okay. Jeez. That thing is just so stupid heavy. There's that. Let's just try to manhandle it up in there. I mean, it's a real pain in the ass. We're so close, but so far away. My little baby arms are giving out. So let's let that sit up in there. I'm trying to figure out what's hanging up here. Need 2 people is what the problem is. What the hell? Come on. Make sure everything's clear. Oh, there it is. Not freaking strong enough. We gotta watch out. We don't bend that freaking gasket, because if we bend it, we gotta throw it away. And that gasket's resting against, no, it's not. We'll clear up there. So the trick's gonna be is, do I have enough upper strength to pull this off? I'm not exactly a little Bambi either, so pretty tough. Let's put this. Put that back in there, and then we're just gonna try to hog her up here. Stick it on her. It's just so freaking heavy. We're just gonna bend the hell out of that gasket. We keep going like this. That probably weighs 40, 45 pounds, that oil pan. And that gasket's actually I'm just gonna start this enough to where you know it's not gonna fall out of there. I'm gonna go over to this side. I'm gonna try to do the old shuffle here. If you tried to do this without a lift, I'm not even gonna snuggle all the way up. We've got so many bolts to put in. It's not even freaking funny. I'll stop the camera and save battery. Okay, so this thing's video's getting too long. We're gonna cut it here, but I'm gonna show you guys here where we're at. So you can see all the freaking bolts up in here that run all the way down both sides, and all these up in here you can't get to with a ratchet. You got to use a wrench. I need to find my 10 mil ratchet wrenches to put. There's 4 on this side and 4 or 5 on the other side. And you can see here I was talking about I did get my Klein Tools T-handle set in. So our T30, you can see up here how deep, like that one's pretty deep, right? This one in here, we got all the T-handle in it except for 2 inches. And probably a good 5 inches up in there on these back 2. And that's why everything I had wasn't long enough to reach it. So I got 4 of those Torx in the back. We got 2 of those in the front. Already snugged everything up. We got a ton of 10 mil bolts to put in. And once we get everything started, we could just go running with the ratchet and with this and finish them all off. We should be done at that point. And then we have all this other nonsense that bolts to the side of the oil pan. We'll just have to sort that a little bit at a time here. And as far as the oil pumps on the side, ew. Is the gasket still good on that? Well, let's see here. Those gaskets are pretty flat, but you still got a little bit sticking out past it. A lot of guys have put a little bit of Yamaha bond or Honda bond on that to seal that, but that's kind of up to you. The one had a little seepage when we took it off. Nothing was really leaking very bad at all. I mean, nothing was leaking, even dripping or nothing. I don't know how many years it took to get that on there. So we'll probably go ahead and reinstall that. As far as this external, what is that, like a stepper pump? I don't know, something weird, like a stepper pump or something. We'll wipe all that off. That's been seeping a little bit, but I don't see, I don't know. The way it mounts, it doesn't really mount on anything with the O-ring. And we'll reassemble all this crap back in here. Once that's all done, we probably should let it down before we put the subframe back in. No, we can't though, it's gonna barf out. See, that's the thing. We start up without the power steering pump line hooked up, it's gonna barf out power steering fluid. So we need to sort all this out and try to work around that, put that line in a bucket or something. Try to start up, make sure everything is good before we put the subframe back up under it. That way we're not taking that in and out, in and out, in and out. Worst case, I'll put the subframe back up, just hook only those power steering lines, which are a pain in the ass to get to up, and start it up then and see, but cannot forget to put oil on it. So that's gonna be it, guys, for this video. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. We'll see you very soon.